to let go of what they're thinking about or whatever, and to focus on what they're trying to do in the water, given the situation that they're given. Not to get upset with other people, not to get upset with themselves, but to find a way to dance with nature that is, safe.
Hello and welcome to the UK Surf Show. We are your hosts. I'm Pete.
And I'm Leighton. On this episode, oh my God, it's such a cool one. We've got the one and only John Philbin, who plays Turtle in North Shore and one of the ex-presidents in Point Break.
Yeah, it was when you first told me you'd sent him a message, I thought, he's not going to reply. And then he replied, and I think I saw the reply, first of all, and lost my shit, rang you to tell you, and you lost your shit.
Yeah, monumentally. I tell you what, I was buzzing and right up to when we recorded, I was just on such a high. Like the scene in Spider-Man 3 when he's walking down the street. That's how I was walking down the street. He's walking and he's clicking his fingers as he's walking. That's what me for about a week.
Yeah, he's a major part of the reason we started surfing, even after seeing North Shore and Point Break when we were younger, and really wanting to get into surfing. And he played such an influential character in that film, which is now a cult classic as well, North Shore. Like he says in this interview, that if at the time he didn't like it when it was made, and they were getting shit for it and stuff like that, but it's turned into something absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I mean, any surfer knows the film North Shore, and if you know the film North Shore, the one character that sticks in everybody's mind, everybody's favorite character, is Turtle. And like you said, he had such a profound effect on us when we were younger, and not even younger, even now. Like, I still watch that film on a regular basis, and we still use the lines that Turtle uses in the films now, and we're now 40. And we first saw it when we were like 13 or 12 or something like that. And what a absolutely genuinely lovely bloke, and just an absolute kind of legend. And we've looked up to him for all our lives, really. And like in Point Break, he was one of the very few guys in Point Breaks that actually did everything. He was actual footage of him surfing, actual footage of him skydiving, and like Patrick Swayze did a skydive in that as well, and he talks about that in this podcast. And we were just in total awe of him, and we're so pleased he was on.
Yeah. And also, you'll hear what he thinks about the new Point Break film as well, whether he agrees with Leighton, who loves it, or me.
Will you stop saying I love it? I don't love it. If you go back to the other podcast, I actually say I didn't hate it. That's not love.
Well, you'll hear what he thinks about it as well. Before we get into this interview, don't forget, head over to North Shore and use the code SSUK15, and that will get you 15% off anything you order from them. Some great stuff on there, great surfing accessories and board bags, robes, balance boards, all sorts of things on there. Really good stuff. So, you ready?
Let's do it. Welcome to the UK Surf Show, John. We are absolutely beside ourselves of excitement that you're on here. We've grown up just watching Turtle, and like we're now 40, so we still say the same lines as what Turtle does in the film. Like, what we're talking now, like 28 years since we first saw the film. So
that's impressive. I am impressed. I've never met English surfers that were fans of the movie, because I've never surfed over in the UK, but I am really glad to hear that Turtle's alive and well over there. That's great.
Yeah, in the UK, there's like the three main films, which is North Shore, Point Break, and Endless Summer. And obviously, you've been in two of those, and it was, as Leighton was saying, we grew up watching, North Shore. We grew up watching Point Break, and there's an English UK surf film as well called Blue Juice, actually, which is Sean Pertwee in it. Those films we grew up watching, and I think they were our initial introduction into surfing, and it's just gone from there. And I mean, there's so many people in the UK you can talk to, and they're like, have you seen North Shore? Yeah, amazing film. It's a great film. It's like a cult classic film. And I was watching online, and I think was it a 25th or 30th anniversary showing of it you went to?
Yeah.
I couldn't believe how many people there was there as well. It was like amazing.
Yeah, I was amazed too. That movie was not successful when it came out, and I mean, I didn't pay much attention to it, but I think 15 years afterwards or something, I was invited to a screening at my local, indie theater, and there was a line around the block, and I was like, what is going on? And as it turns out, I guess the film had a second and a third life on VHS and then on cable. And so these families, because it's a real kid family film, 80s colorful bebop, as Matt Adler would say, kind of Disney-esque quality to it, but it had these themes in it. We were so sincere and so honest, and the writers took such great care to portray the world of the North Shore at that time in a way that people really appreciated. And so it had a second and third life, and it's still a huge part of my surfing life today. And my friend Matt Adler, who played Rick Kane, I'm still really good friends with everyone who made that movie, which is very rare. And because of its cultiness over here, it's really become something that we are surprised and impressed by when we go surfing, or when we go to not a revival, but when they show that film again and audiences seem to respond to it, it just cracks us up. We just think it's wonderful.
You had some great surfing legends in the film as well, on that film. And you still keep in contact with Matt, and he's surfing for ages, didn't he?
He quit surfing for 20 years after that movie. That movie wasn't as fun for him as it was for me, and his reaction to the movie wasn't as pleasant for him as it was for me. We both kind of struggled with, because we're surfers. We were surfers before we were actors, and so we have our egos were attached to other people's reactions to the film. At the time, we were young, and so I think we were both a little put off, maybe, if we thought someone was making fun of it, or someone was. I still get today, surfers will say, like, hey, in that movie, Rick Kane takes off on a right and he comes out on a left. What's that all about? And I don't, I used to be like, what is wrong with you? But, have a chip on my shoulder about it. Now I just go, yeah, because he's Rick Kane, bitch. He can do anything. But, we had to learn how to have the right reaction to other people's reactions. And Matt quit for a long ass time. And then it was just a couple years ago, he said, John, I'm going to start surfing again. I go, why? And he goes, I'm in good shape. He's been training really hard, and I'm in good shape, and I just want to try something new. He's a scratch golfer, and he wanted to do something else for a little while. He just wanted to get back in the water. And he's come back with a vengeance. We took a trip. I brought him to one of those, the Arrows, theaters reunion of North Shore, and he brought his wife and his kids, and he had no idea there was the kind of love for it that there is in Los Angeles and probably other places in the world. He had no idea. He thought people just made fun of that movie. And when he saw that love, he's like, God, this is a part of my life that I have no connection to, and I've kind of put in the closet all these years. So he got back into surfing, and now he bought a little place in Point Dume, which is like going back in time for Californians. It's like this private surf community, and now he surfs better than he ever did, and going surfing with him is so much fun. And he's into it now. Like, he's the face of this website, Kook Slams. I don't know if you guys like Kook Slams or anything, but he's like, well, is that a good thing? And I'm like, Matt, your face from a character you played 30 years ago is the face of a website that everybody looks at every day. Yes, that's a good thing. I mean, we all kind of had to learn, and my face is the face of this website called Listen to Turtle, which this really cool chick named Cindy does, which is listen to turtles, for all the fans kind of it could be across the world, but she sells merchandise from the movie, and she uses the movie. It's fans of the movie. And I'm like, I look at my little phone and there's a picture of you, Matt, and then there's a picture of me on these little websites that are super fun. And now we love it. In other words, like I'm 60 years old, but right now we enjoy that movie and what's come from that movie more than we ever have, without a doubt.
You definitely have fans all over the world. It's such a good film. Like, because we were talking about this, and you were saying how people pick up on Matt taking off to the left or the right. Well, to get that surf footage back then with the cameras that they had and what they'd have to take in the water must have been really hard, because we still say now, like, some of the footage that they got in that film is some of the best surf footage in any film that we've seen. like especially filmed out in the water in those, that kind of swell was kind of unbelievable for that time.
Yeah, I'm really impressed too when I see it. When we had Don King, who's as good as anyone will ever be in water photography, and he was using different techniques of capturing footage of like Derek Ho and Laird Hamilton and great surfers, and even us, we had Gary Capo, and we had the Condon brothers. We had great surf photographers who we got to use, on the North Shore when we shot all the surfing footage. And it still holds up. It's crazy. You get a water shot of a guy taking off a pipeline and there's not 20 photographers in the way. You're not looking at helmets and other guys holding their cameras, pulling their cameras through the waves. It's really beautiful. I'm so impressed with what they did with such a low budget. But we just hired pros from the North Shore who were, kind of innovating surf photography, and they really brought it to the screen in a great way.
Yeah, absolutely did. It's so stunning. So how did you get into the film then? Like, how did you end up playing Turtle?
Well, I had done a movie for Randall Kleiser, who is the producer of North Shore and one of the writers on North Shore, and he was going to make a movie about surfing. He's got a house on the North Shore. He loves surfing, and his good friend Bill Phelps, who's the director of North Shore, had made a documentary-type surf movie, and they got this script together, and so they put it out. My agent called me and said, "Hey, Randall Kleiser," who the first movie I'd ever been cast in was called Grandview, USA, and I worked for Randall Kleiser. He was the director, and I was a method actor, and I played this character that was on the spectrum in some way, and I did good work in that. I was a young, serious actor. That's all I was doing was working in films. And he said, "I think John Philbin surfs." And so they sent me a script. I read the script, and when it said my character Turtle surfs pipeline, I'm like, I have to do this. So I loved surfing pipe. I surfed pipeline when I was 16. I used to surf all the time, and I just kind of put it away because I was focused on acting, living in Los Angeles in the city. But I remembered that I love surfing. I mean, Jared, I was just blown away by the opportunity the script presented as a surfer. And so I went in and auditioned, and they just didn't like me. I was pale, or I'd been playing some bank robber out in the Midwest. And I don't know, maybe I had a Southern accent. I'm not sure, but they just didn't see it. I didn't have blonde hair. I'm sure they wanted a blonde, funny guy, and they did not see that. So I go, "Randall, I think I was born to play this part. I'd like to come in again." He goes, "Okay, John, because you did such good work on Grandview, USA, we'll bring you back in." They brought me in 5 times, and I just couldn't get the part. And then they went and did a surf check for me, a surf test. Everybody had to surf who played an actor in the movie. And in my surf test, there's a guy on the beach. I go, "Yeah, no, I'm a good surfer." I hadn't surfed in years, but I'm like, I'm good. Watch. And I ran into the water with my surfboard. I tripped, and my surfboard slipped under my legs and hit me like between the legs, and I fell down in the water. And I came out and I said, listen, you can't show that to those guys. I mean, let me do this again. He's like, no, okay, John, go ahead. Everyone's just laughing because, like, yeah, every actor says they can surf if they're going up for a surf movie. I'm like, no, I can surf. But you had to prove it, and my first attempt was so embarrassing. I wish I had that footage now, me trying to run into the water. I can do it, but I just tripped. I don't know if I was nervous or what. But anyway, I did my little surf test, and they said, okay, John can surf, but I don't think he can play a surfer. So I went back 2 more times, and, the director didn't see it, but I think the producer, and I'll credit him for the rest of my life, because this is a gift that keeps on giving for me, playing Turtle in North Shore. He said, listen, John's a method actor. He'll go over there. He'll lose the weight. We'll dye his hair blonde. We'll wax his chest. And believe me, he'll learn the dialect, the accent, and he will transform into that character Turtle. Just trust me, because he did it for me in this other movie. And so Universal and Bill Phelps said, okay, if you believe it, we'll give him a shot. So they gave me a shot. It was the best day of my life when they finally accepted me to play that part, without a doubt. And so I went over there and I had to completely change. I hope you guys can still hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you. We're totally enthralled. So
am I answering your question? Am I talking too much?
Yeah,
no, it's absolutely perfect. We're just in awe at the moment. So
well, I mean, so I went over there. They had, the guy that picked me up at the airport was just kind of mopey guy, and he kind of talked funny. He was a hop-a-howley guy, and we're driving back to the North Shore. It takes about 45 minutes to an hour, and he's saying, do you know how to pronounce these words? And I'm like, no. And he's teaching me how to pronounce Hawaiian. By the time we get to the North Shore, I'm like, are you the guy I'm supposed to play? It was kind of based on a guy that kind of a hop-a-howley guy. Are you like the original character that they based this on? He's like, yeah, I guess. And I'm like, are you kidding me? What are you, a PA now on the movie? He goes, yeah, they made me a PA. I helped them in writing and stuff. And I'm like, you're living with me. Can you live with me for the next, for the 6 weeks it takes? He goes, where? And I'm like, we'll figure it out. We go, I'm supposed to stay in this big hotel that's not near the set. And I'm like, look, I'm not going to learn anything living in this hotel. So I rented a house at Pipeline. I moved that guy in with me. His name's Brian King. And he just went over the script with me repeatedly over and over and over again while I was shooting, until I could kind of understand what the character was saying, how he was saying it, why he was saying it. And then I lived at this house right next to Pipeline where John Florence, ended up living in. Actually, Jamie O'Brien moved into that house in his dad, before they moved over to the Pipeline house. I called this the poop house. It wasn't really Pipeline, but it was right next to it. It was by Aokai Beach Park, Pupakea Sandbars. And then John Florence moved into it. Just the vibes of that house were amazing, right on the beach. And I just walk over to the pipe to the park next to Pipeline, and I would just hang out there every day until I just kind of would suck in all the local pigeon talk and everything, and surf Pipeline every day as much as I possibly could. And so by the time we were filming, I had that character Turtle, with Brian King's help and all the North Shore locals' help to kind of like become that. And so the director was like, ended up being happy with it. Bill Phelps ended up being like, oh, you did great, John. He didn't, it ended up working for me. And I just thank Randall Kleiser for giving me that opportunity and thinking I could do that, because that was just it's one of my greatest experience in acting is that the life that characters led, past me. I mean, it's that I'm even talking about it now. It's super fun. That's way too much information. Sorry, I went on.
That was brilliant. So did you find it at all intimidating, surfing with like some of the surfing legends that were there, like Laird Hamilton and like Jerry Lopez? And was that intimidating at all?
Yeah, there was some intimidation going on. I mean, I was young, I was an actor, but I had grown up as a surfer, so I had all the posters on my wall. I'm working with Jerry Lopez is my hero, and it's kind of like, wow, this is really happening. But they were so nice and so kind to us, these visiting kook actors from Hollywood, like smoking and, getting our hair dyed and, our body hair waxed. They were just like, kind of like being tolerant. I don't know, maybe they got a memo saying, look, these actors are coming over from Hollywood and they don't know shit. They're total kooks, but don't hurt them. Like, we need them to make this movie. We want you to be in this movie. Please be kind to our Hollywood actors. And whatever they said, it worked, because we ended up just getting to hang out with these guys and surf with these guys, especially Robbie Page and Mark Akalupa were super kind to us, and Jerry was the nicest guy in the world because he's an actor too. And they were just kind to us, even the Hui, they were nice to us, they were getting paid. They were part of the script, and they let us become part of that family for a while. And I consider them family now, but yes, you make a movie with someone, you just love them for the rest of your life because you're in in the trench with them while things are happening. You're trying to make this thing work, and that it turned out to be a good thing just as a bonding element, for our lives. I think anyone who had anything to do with that movie looks back and goes, I'm glad I did that, and doesn't cringe and go, God, how embarrassing. It was more than a paycheck. It really had a positive effect. So we're all a family now. So yeah, it was intimidating at first, but then, they want you to do good and you want to do good. And we both love surfing. I'm just talking about me and Matt. Gregory Harrison is also a great surfer who played Chandler. He's become such a huge surfer, now too, and it's a big part of his life. I think Chandler's probably his favorite role.
Oh yeah, I restrained myself really well then. I was just going to say, when you said Chandler, I was going to say he's the guy, brah.
Yeah. I mean, I got lucky with my part was without a doubt just the most colorful, enthusiastic character. And everyone else is kind of sincere and straight, and my character's bouncing off the walls with doing all this crazy, over the top acting and stuff, which is really fun for me. And so I got really lucky with my part. I only had to work 3 days a week, and I got to be pretty colorful, and it really worked out well for me.
Well, when people mention the North Shore over here in the UK, and I'd imagine the world round, everybody, it's just Turtle is the character that pops to your mind is Turtle. And we still got friends that say in the lines and stuff like that. I don't know if you can remember any lines. Pete's got one of them really down that you do. Could you do it, Pete? Because we don't actually know what it means, do we?
I don't even know if I get it right, but it's the one. I think it's the one when he's like Turtle's really excited, and he goes something like "Shaggy the mother cousin and Prada," something like that.
Dude, you said it. Those are the words. You got it. That's right.
Well, is it? I can't believe you just made me do that as well.
That's hysterical. It's better you than me. I mean, you did it perfect. Let me say that. Yeah, Brian King gave me this line, and it was Shaka Tita Mata cousin uncle brother frada, and it basically means aloha, mahalo, like I love you and your whole family. Your uncle, your cousins, everybody. Much respect to you. And then you say it really fast, and it just, it's like same with our goofy handshakes. We do these huge handshakes with these crazy words and those kind of things ended up being, colorful attributes to the movie that made it adorable to a lot of people. I'm like, what does he say there? And what does that mean? But you got every word right. So that's awesome. You win the prize. The sticker is on its way.
It's cool that we know what that means now because we've been saying it for 28 years. So.
Yeah. I think I say a character at the airport when I'm like super stoked for him, and he's just my friend, and everything's gone well in his life, and I love him now, and I can call him Rick and not Barney, and he's really proved himself in a Hollywood way, surfing pipeline coming from a wave pool. But the love was real. I mean, Matt and I became really great friends, and he enabled me to be so loose and free and loving and respectful, and because he really inspired those feelings from me. He's really a special guy, and we're best friends today, which is almost unheard of. I guess I'd love to compare myself to Paul Newman and Robert Redford, but yeah, it's like we have bonded in a way. We continue our lives, because we didn't even know each other before we did that film, and now we've been best friends forever.
That's amazing.
That's really nice to hear, isn't it?
Yeah. When did you start? When was the first time you started surfing?
Surfing, I think I was 12 years old. I grew up in Palos Verdes, which has some surf, but we lived kind of near the beach. We just get dropped off in the summer, and it's not surfing. It's not for everyone, as you know, but I kind of took to it. It gave me something to do, and I really liked it. And yeah, I was an old longboard I bought in the garage. That's how we started. We didn't have leashes or anything, and it's kind of a unique little surfing culture down in Palos Verdes. So I grew up surfing and going down the cliffs and surfing these rocky rock reef breaks that were really kind of remote and just magical. And so I surfed through high school, and then I went to college, and I did some surfing in college at UC Santa Barbara. But then when I decided I wanted to be an actor, I thought I had to move to Los Angeles. I did. I moved to Los Angeles and studied acting at USC, which is a fine art theater arts program. And I just put surfing away for a while. And then I did a bunch of plays, and I did some horror movies and a couple other little independent films. And then I got North Shore, and I was like, I got to surf again. And I hadn't surfed in a while. And so it just reminded me of all the greats. I've never stopped surfing since. By the way, Jerry Lopez on the set, on location, I told him, my story. He takes a sincere interest in the people he's working with, and he let me talk about, where I'd come from, what I'd done, and what my surfing history was, because I had to really surf a lot in that movie, and I just fell in love with it again. He says, "Yeah, John, never quit surfing again. It's one of the healthiest things you can do. You can do it for the rest of your life. It's free. You can do it all over the world. Don't ever quit again." And I said, I won't. And, since then I've seen him out at G-Land, and we surfed together, in Indonesia, a couple of times, and it's great to see him. I love that guy.
Well, the wave that Turtle catches, I think it's at Pipeline, when he goes out with Rick for the first time, and Rick's is when he's giving Rick advice, when he goes, "When the wave breaks here, don't be here." That was a monster wave you caught then. Like, what was it like grabbing that thing? And the footage is great as well.
I credit that footage to Don King. I mean, he's just the greatest photographer. And not sure who was on the beach, but might have been Dan Merkel was there too. But anyway, when I knew I had to catch a wave at Pipeline for the movie as an actor and a surfer, I rented that house down at Pipeline, and I surfed Pipeline every day it was breaking, when I wasn't working. And I would go, they made these boards for Turtle to ride, and I would go into the prop truck and I go, "Okay, I want to ride one of my boards out there." And they're like, "Well, this is pretty fresh. I mean, it's not really cured. Be careful on this board. This is the set piece board." And I go, "Yeah, I'm the actor who has to use this prop on the set, which is out there, so I need to rehearse." And they're like, "Oh, Christ, what a fucking pain in the ass this asshole is." "Okay, be careful." And they hand me the board, and I put a leash on it, wax it up, and I go out and I snapped it. And I came back with two halves, and I'm going, "It broke." They're like, "Jesus Christ, we just had that thing made. All right." I go, "But I'm not done rehearsing." They're like, "Well, be careful." They give me another board. I'll take it out. Snapped it. I think I broke. I mean, I'm this total kook from Hollywood, just going like, "I'll get it. Let me practice." I'm like a method actor, and that's what I'm using as my excuse to go out and surf all these waves, so that I'm just getting better and better and better. But these guys are they're like, "What is wrong? This actor," we got 3 different shapers making these boards as quick as possible, and I'm breaking them as quickly as possible. Just rehearsing. Because of my acting school, I've been going to acting school and stuff, and I was all about rehearsing, the physical rehearsing for the character, so that, I was believable. All I wanted to be was a North Shore local. And, I even went through a stage after the movie when I didn't know what I was going to do. I stopped acting. I wasn't acting. I started teaching surfing. I was like, I'm just going to move to the North Shore and become one of the boys. I think I can become one of the boys. And I remember moving over there and living in a little shack on the North Shore. I wasn't an actor anymore. I hadn't worked in a while. And I'm just don't have any money. I'm hitchhiking on the side of the road. It's raining. And a huge truck goes by and hits this puddle and splashes me. And I hear this local guy in the back, roll down his window and go, "Yeah, Turtle!" Just splashed me. And I'm like, I don't know why I aspired to be just one of the boys, but I did. I just love those guys. And so I really, that still is such a big part of my life, trying to just be one of the boys on the North Shore, even though I never will be, But it was fun trying. But anyway, back to the movie. I just kept surfing pipe every day, and I loved it. I had a guy named Adam 12 giving me lineups. It was so great. And I had the Hui helping me catch waves when we had to film. Not when we weren't filming. When we weren't filming, I was on my own, just breaking boards. We ultimately had to go to a shop the day before filming and buy a board off the racks that had cured and was still like, yeah, this will work. So that board I rode in that movie at Pipeline was close to the 6 boards they had made for my character that I had broken. It was close enough. It was colorful and everything, but that's the way I got to use that board right off the shelf. So I think it was an Eric Arakawa, who I'd love to have that board today. And, I got to catch some waves, but I had been training intensely for 4 weeks before I shot that, just surfing Pipeline. It was a dream come true for a surfer.
Is that one of the best places you ever surfed, or where would you say then around the world? Because you've surfed masses of places.
I mean, I love Pipeline because it'll always have a special place for me. There's nowhere like it. I went back this year and I surfed it 4 times. 2 times I didn't make one wave. I just was getting just kind of paying my dues and learning. And then I had 2 kind of fun days out there, really small pipe, like just the kids around me are like 11, 12 years old wearing helmets going, are you turtle? Like it was a trip. But I mean, I love surfing Pipeline when it's small. But when I was younger, I surfed it whatever came at, whatever it was, I had to practice out there. But my favorite place to surf in the world is a place called G-Land. It's in Java, and it's Indonesia, and it's a camp, and I've been going there, forever, and I love that place, and I'll go back there as soon as I can. It's my favorite place to surf.
Travel again, yeah.
Well, you mentioned then about the 12-year-olds around you that saying, "Are you turtle?" And, well, I showed this film a few years ago to I got two sons, and one's coming up 14, the other one's coming up 10, and they just absolutely love turtles. Well, to the point where my eldest son uses turtle lines to answer back to the teachers in school. So when the teacher asks him to do something, he goes, "Yeah, no."
That is so great. Yeah, I mean, when I saw those lines, I was like, "What does that mean? What am I?" And Brian King helped me with that. He's like, "Yeah, you're just making fun of him. You're like psyching him out, And I'd never seen anyone else say it, so I wasn't imitating another actor. I wasn't imitating Robert De Niro in Taxi Driver. I was like imitating the source of that humor from the North Shore, like going, literally going, how. What does this mean? He would have to say it for me so many times until I would just actually go, "Oh, I get it." And then that kind of caught on. People are like, "That's funny," and I'm so happy for your kid. That's great. The teachers are probably like, "What is that? What is that supposed to mean?" Yeah, no, what?
Yeah, what's wrong with that kid?
Yeah, what's wrong with that kid? Yeah, thank you. Tell him I'm a huge fan of his work in school. Huge fan.
He'll be well pleased to hear that. And then, after that, you go on to another, well, probably the biggest grossing surfing movie of all time, Point Break, to appearing in that as well. And how did you end up getting the role in Point Break?
Yeah, after North Shore, I was never going to quit surfing again, but I went back, living in Hollywood to acting, and I was still surfing in between jobs and stuff, but Point Break was called Riders on the Storm. It was at some other studio first, and I went in, I think, and I'll never know, but I think it might be because here, these people are making a surf film. John Philbin's an actor who surfs. Look at his work in this movie, maybe North Shore. For all I know, I got that movie because I was in North Shore, but I'll never know. And I went in and I read for Ridley Scott, who was directing it, and I think Charlie Sheen was supposed to be in it, but I got a part in it. With Ridley Scott, I did an audition and it went well, and he gave me this part of Nathaniel, and it was called Riders on the Storm. I'm like, I'm in another surf movie, unheard of. I'm stoked. And I went back to my work making a cowboy movie or Cops and Robbers or something, and the movie got dropped. The studio got bought or something. It went into turnaround, and and all of a sudden the movie's not getting made. I'm like, oh God, that was so exciting for a little while. What a dream. That's incredible. And then a year later, I think the script got bought by a different studio, Largo or something, a different studio, and Catherine Bigelow was the director, not Ridley Scott, and they changed the name to Point Break, and she just offered me the same part that Ridley Scott had given me, and it might have been Tony, I'm not sure, but I just said, yeah, can I go in and meet her? I'll go in and read for her. And my agent's like, well, you don't really need to. It's an offer. I'm like, I'll do it. That's great. And it was more money than I'd ever made in my life. And I'm stoked. And I go, I want to go in and meet her. And I went in, I was over excited. I was way too excited. I wish I would have had someone go, no, John, don't go in. But I went in with like a picture of me surfing pipeline and a picture of me jumping out of an airplane because I had done that. And I was right in the middle of filming a movie about bank robbing. I was Dillinger. I was in the Wisconsin robbing banks with Tommy guns. And I'm like, look, I rob banks. I surf. She's like, yeah, you got the part. And like, you want me to, I'll read this thing. And I read it, and I not very good reader apparently, you know, but, she goes, well, we're still going to give you the part. Just, you don't have to audition anymore. You know, like I over auditioned for everything, I guess. And I almost auditioned myself right out of that part. But anyway, I didn't, and I got it. And yeah, that was a dream come true twice, because I had worked with Patrick Swayze on that Randall Kleiser movie, which I told you the reason I got North Shore is because I done a movie for Randall Kleiser called Grandview, USA, which Patrick Swayze was in. And we became, you know, I went, there's Buddy. I mean, I know him from another movie. Once you do a movie with someone, you're like, yeah, you know, you're bonded. And we just bonded again on that movie. And I was a total dick in that one. I mean, not that my character was a mean guy, and there's a lot of testosterone going on in those rooms. And I was just a kind of an angry, dry drunk at the time. And I just brought all that to that kind of anger. I was just mean and angry the whole time. Instead of really, if I was a better actor, I could have enjoyed that experience much more. But as I look back on it, you know, that's who I was at the time. And, you know, the things I got to do in that movie were just we surfed so much Hawaii with a whole different water crew, you know, some from the original North Shore and some new guys. Brian Kailana's formed a new water patrol company called Hawaiian Water Patrol. And we just got to do tow-ins and all kinds of amazing surfing on the North Shore that, you know, much more than we did for the movie North Shore. But I think I probably got that movie because I was in North Shore, and I'll never know, but now I can put it together. And yeah, that movie did well. And a lot of times people say it's a surf movie, and I'll be like, yeah, it's a kind of a buddy cop movie. It's kind of cop robber movie, buddy cops. And then the cop becomes the same guy as the person he's chasing. And at some point you'll see one face and there'll be two different sides of the same coin. But they did it so well in Point Break. And Catherine Bigelow is such a brilliant director that she made Keanu Reeves a movie star. And, you know, she said Keanu can play next to Patrick Swayze, an international movie star, and hold the same type of power. The eyes will go equally between the two. He can do this. I mean, she is a visionary. And I was just lucky to be a part of that, even though at the time my attitude, because of my, you know, limited acting experience, was like, I've got to be this guy, you know, for the duration of this film. It works for certain things, but if I could I wish, you know, if I had it over again, I'd go, I'm going to have so much fun on this movie. I love all these people. You know, it was great. It was great.
Yeah, because you actually skydived in that film, didn't you?
I skydived in that film, yes, because Patrick Swayze was training to do his own skydiving, and he took us, all of his gang. He would take us skydiving to Paris Valley, and where he would jump, and we'd all practice jumping out of airplanes. You know, it was super illegal, but we were all like, yeah, you know, we're actors rehearsing. And I really enjoyed it, but the producers found out about it and they were pissed off, you know, pissed off. But part of being an outlaw surf gang that doesn't respect authority was bringing that into our, you know, 24/7 lives for the duration of the film. And so we just kept doing it, even though it was against the law. But it was really exciting. I don't regret it one jump. It was super fun. I don't never do it again, probably, but it was really exciting back then.
So I've got to ask the question, while we're on Point Break, have you seen the new Point Break and what do you think of it?
What a piece of shit. Like the worst movie ever made. I think it was out for like 3-4 days. They lost just fortune. I mean, those people, whoever made that movie, they don't know how to make a feature film. That sucked. That was horrible. I was horrified. Yeah, I went to see it. I'm like, oh, Point Break. Like I would love to have been in it or helped on it, but they were like, no, we're not really interested. We're going to do this thing. And I was like, really? And then I went, well, fuck you. And then I went to see it and I went, oh my God, what a piece of shit. You never know what's going to be, a good decision or a bad situation, depending on what happened. But I am so glad that didn't work out for me and that movie sucked.
We've had this before. I've said a lot of the time that it's a piece of shit, and Leighton's actually said, "Oh, I don't know, I quite like it." But
no, hang on. I said I didn't hate it. Was what and the reason being is because of the extreme sports athletes in it. They're just kind of like the footage is kind of good of the extreme sports athletes. But John, what I wanted to ask you is, I don't know if you knew this, but there is an ex-president actor in that film.
I know that.
Yeah.
There's two of them. I'm the only ex-president actor that's not in the film. So I am predisposed to hate that movie. But there's a great actor in that movie who I love. There's, when you make an action sports film like that, a bunch of action sports athletes get jobs, which I love to see. They're getting jobs and stuff. I did not get a job in that movie, and I went in and said, "Hey, you're making a new Point Break? I was in the original." They're like, "Yeah, we'll call you." They never called me. They put two of the other ex-presidents in the movie. I was like, "What is going on? Is there something personal?" Like, I swear, I'm looking at the producers list. I think maybe I might have done something that one of the producer's daughters was still upset about, and talked to their dad, and their dad. She was like, "Okay, honey. Well, we won't put him in our movie." Or I don't know what it was. I can't think of any good reason, that has anything to do with anything. But all I know is I was predisposed. I go, God, I hope this movie isn't great. And when I saw it, I was shocked at how bad I thought it was, and what a travesty to take a classic movie like that and turn it into a commercial for action sports, even though I'm so happy for all the athletes and surfers who got to work on it and make a ton of money. But as a narrative, they took a classic film by a brilliant director, Catherine Bigelow, and they called it the same thing. And it was just cheap. It was tawdry.
Yeah. I mean, they could have called it something else, really, couldn't they? It had no kind of relevance to Point Break apart from some of the characters' names. Really, it wasn't nowhere near the same film in any way. But yeah, so the actor that I found about was the actor that played Gromit in the first Point Break. He was the director of the FBI in the new Point Break. Is that right? Yeah. And so he's one of the only other actors that you see in Point Break that's surfing and skydiving as well.
Yes. I mean, that guy, his name's Bo Jesse Christopher. He's still a friend of mine. He's a great surfer. That guy's a great surfer, man. And he's an acting instructor here in Los Angeles. And he's gotten really good. He did a stint in True Detective, and he was so good in it. I was like, Jesus, Bo, you've really gotten, grown up, because he played a kid and a beautiful young boy in Point Break. And then he's in the FBI director. I'm like, how'd you get that job? And I was like unemployed. I was an unemployable actor at the time. So I'm happy for those guys. They got to go to Germany for a couple days, and I'm like, how dare you? But but I'm really happy for them. But I was really, butt sore about not being offered anything on Point Break, whatever it's called. And so when the movie bombed and got bad reviews, I was like, fuck yeah, what a piece of shit. Those guys suck. And that is my only redemption. I get to say stuff like that. But yeah, I'm happy for everyone who gets a job in Hollywood. Anybody who gets a job in Hollywood, like, they're so stoked. But I mean, Catherine Bigelow is an Academy Award winning visionary director, and she made a classic film with Keanu Reeves, Patrick Swayze, and I was a part of that. And to see Hollywood tarnish that in any way was like, fuck you guys. You guys suck, man. But that's Hollywood. I mean, Hollywood remakes movies. I shouldn't really have such an attitude about it. It's just because I'm the only dead president that's not in it.
So would you say with like acting and surfing, would you say you're a surfer first, then an actor, or would you have said you were an actor first and then a surfer?
I have been asked that question, and I don't know the answer to that question. If it's what did I do first for money, I'd say I got paid to be an actor. I was a professional actor, a trained actor. What did I do for recreation all my life? It's been surfing. And when I became an actor, I put surfing away for a while and became a professional actor. And then just through luck, I got to be in a movie that had surfing in it. Now I think if someone's going to cast me, it's because I've been in surf movies. It's not because, hey, I really liked your work as this drug addict in this, recovery movie, Undateable John, and I would like to use you as, a recovering addict. I'm like, really? I mean, it's mostly because someone, has seen me in a surf movie. So, I mean, I'm a surfer and I'm an actor, and I don't want to say, I don't know what I'd have to do if you told me you can choose to do one or the other, John. You can either surf for the rest of your life or you can be an actor for the rest of your life. God, that's the question. That's the way to put it. I might have to take surfing. Okay, that's it. I'd take surfing. I don't want to diminish any of my love for acting because I dream about acting, and I've been lucky to be in a couple films that were just amazing, experiences. So I love acting. I hope I get to do it again. But I surf and teach surfing all the time.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to say. So after Point Break, then you ended up teaching surfing on some other surf films. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, after Point Break, and a couple movies like Tombstone and a couple of more horror movies or cop movies or whatever, then I stopped really working as an actor. I was. This is a weird thing to say, but back in the 80s and the 90s, if you were a young white male who could act, who had, any chops at all, it was easy, and that really is going to sound weird, to get a job in films.
Yeah.
That is not the case anymore. And as I got older, it got harder for me because I'm not Mark Ruffalo or Sean Penn. I don't have that kind of talent and that kind of dedication. And so it became very difficult for me to get a job that sustained me. I mean, an unemployed actor it's a dangerous place in my mind to be in. I'm just left. What am I going to do now? I didn't know what to do with my life when I stopped working enough to, make a living. So I didn't know how to do anything. So I started teaching surfing. And as it turned out, they made another surf movie while I was teaching surfing. And I had known the guy. I'd done a cop movie with him. His name's John Stockwell. And he goes, hey, John, I'm teaching surfing out of Malibu. And he goes, hey, I'm going to make a surf movie. I know you've been in two of them, North Shore, Point Break. I want to talk to you about how they filmed different scenes and stuff. And I'm like, oh, yeah, sure. By the way, I'm a surf instructor. He goes, yeah. But okay, so now how they shoot this? And every time we do a meeting at Malibu at lunch after I gave a lesson, I go, I'm a surf instructor now. Like I could teach. He's like, yeah, we know. So how did they shoot that scene where? And I'm like, Jesus Christ. Finally I'm come out of the water and he's on the beach filming someone give some model actress, whatever, a surf lesson. And I'm like, John, I'm furious. And I'm like, the fuck? And I think because I had that outrageous, reaction to the fact that he's filming some other surf instructor. As it turns out, the surf instructor he was filming is a great surf instructor and super famous and as good as anybody will ever be at doing that. But I wanted that job. And so, I don't know what happened between them, but he was like, well, John's here and he's here every day and he's probably cheap. So he gave me the job of training Kate Bosworth to play a surfer, for the movie Blue Crush. And so it was the first movie that I worked on. Now I'm back working on movies as a surf instructor, and it went well. And as it turns out, Kate did a phenomenal job, and the movie was pretty flashy and did okay. Women surfers and stuff. And I'm like, whoa, I'm back in the entertainment industry in some capacity. I'm under that tent. I got to go visit the North Shore and she did great. And I found that I enjoyed the work. Actually, I found that I enjoyed teaching. I think it's because I studied with such great acting instructors like Larry Moss and Peggy Fury. I mean, I was so into class when I was studying, and taking acting class when I was in LA. When I was professional actor, that teaching, I have great respect for it. And I found that I really liked it. So I got to teach surfing for Blue Crush, and then a couple of other John Stockwell Hollywood, TV series and things. So I got, my teaching of surfing became kind of a little card. I've got a card that says that's what I do, and I put a little website up like, I teach surfing to movie stars. I've been in movies too. It's this kind of a weird second life I created for myself because I had nothing. I didn't know how to do anything else. I remember telling my dad, I go, Dad, I'm a surf instructor now. And he's like, is that a job?
We've spoken to people before, and they've said the same thing about being a surf instructor, and people have had the same. Is that a job?
Is that a job? Like, how are you gonna make any money doing that? Like, what is that all about? Like, my dad's so great. I remember when I was surfing into college, and he's like, when are you gonna give up this surfing thing? And I'm like, never.
Yeah.
And then when I graduated college, I was on my own. I had to, he goes like, so you just so you know, you got to have something to fall back on if you're an actor. I've talked to a bunch of actors, and they all need second jobs. And I was like, I didn't, I was like, I'm not gonna go for that down that road now. And then when I stopped working as an actor, sure enough, I got to fall back on surfing. So it's just a weird. Life is so weird. You just stay alive, and the wheel turns, and it's wonderful.
So, how do you find as well? We often try and explain that feeling. We've had it loads of times. We try and explain that feeling you get from surfing and how surfing affects your mental health as well. I mean, we say like that. It's really, unless you've surfed, you can't describe that feeling of what it is being on the wave and everything else. All your worries and troubles just falling away, and what you get out of it yourself. What do you find that is?
Yeah, I mean, they do. There's some pretty good books on flow and how extreme sports have like surfing and skateboarding thing have increased. And it's the skydiving, the way guys base jump now, and how a lot of athletes in extreme sports have advanced the talent level of human beings engaging in outdoor activities by the drugs that are produced in their brains when you have risk and pleasure, involved in doing something, and how it trains your focus. Navy SEALs have this experience. They train in groups, and they can, Point Break did touch upon it, but it didn't get scientific about it. I mean, they just study the brain on what happens and with being exposed to water smashing around you, sunlight, risk, pleasure, the endorphins and the chemicals that are released in your brain are pretty unique. And so that's why they say only a surfer knows the feeling. And I reckon, there is nothing exactly like surfing because you're riding a wave of energy that's transmitted in the water, but you're sliding on a wave of energy that God created. I'm going to go surf Kelly Slater's wave pool, and I'll see what what the difference is between that and a real wave in nature. But just everybody knows that being out in nature is great. You feel good. The sun hits you, the negative ions from the earth may be making you feel positive. If you do something exciting in nature, like skiing, sliding down a mountain, climbing a mountain, some more little chemicals are released in your brain that are pleasant, like dopamine and serotonin. And then if you can ever reach ecstasis from, cortisone or other, adrenaline and other, if you're taking huge risks and having huge pleasure and totally focused on surviving in the moment in a natural phenomenon that's you've put yourself in, then I don't know what else can bring me to that state of focus and pleasure and excitement than surfing. But then again, I'm sure mountain climbing, toe-in surfing, which is like a different sport, skydiving, skiing, extreme skiing, they all kind of get you to that place. And Point Break was talking about it. They say, adrenaline junkie, 100% pure adrenaline. Adrenaline's not that comfortable of a feeling, actually. Most athletes, you have to move through adrenaline to get to the next releasing of the other, hormones in your brain that give you pleasure and focus. Adrenaline's kind of scary and uncomfortable. But but to do anything in surfing, Jerry Lopez used to go, surfing's great. You hardly ever get hurt, but it feels like you're going to die all the time. And that type of excitement, like you look at down a wave and go, fuck, this could kill me. This is really exciting. You get so scared and then so excited that you survived, and there's so much pleasure involved in it that, he, couldn't put it down. It's just something that you can become addicted to. That's for sure.
It's that thing, isn't it? It's so difficult to explain. And I think people listening to this podcast majority of them are surfers. And I think they have experienced that feeling, or they're on the path to experience that feeling. And it's something that it's so difficult. As you just said then, only if you've surfed, you can get close to it with other things, but only if you surf, you know what it is.
Yeah, I didn't know your audience were a bunch of surfers. That changes everything. I want to go back and re-record this whole show. But I will say, I teach beginners and intermediate people to surf, and so I don't need to sell them on surfing. I will say this to all of us who surf. We're so lucky. I am so grateful that I learned how to surf and that I'm 60 now and I can enjoy surfing. But I'm a human being, and I went through a lot of stages where I can be in a bad mood. And surfers may or may not understand this. If you've never surfed, yeah, surfing is the greatest thing ever. It makes you focus on what's happening. It's really healthy for you. It's great exercise, and you're in nature. You're interacting with nature. All positive, wonderful things. Now, that being said, I've gone through so many stages as a surfer. Surfing means a lot different things to me now as it did when I was in my 20s, or when I was a teenager, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s even. Now that I'm 60, I look at it as more of a holistic experience for me. But I've been surfing and been in a bad mood and been angry and furious and negative, and I've gone through just horrible emotions while I've been surfing. And someone from the outside can look at me and go, John, your head, you really need to do some mental gymnastics right now to get out of that mood and to realize what's happening, where you are and what you're doing, because you should be happy. But that is a weird, it's hard to say that to someone, when they're just furious out in the water, struggling and angry and holding a resentment against some kid who's paddling around them, and you can't get a wave and you're just furious. So, I've people fight in the water, and it's just like, what are you doing? People who don't really surf can look at that and go, what is that all about? I thought you're supposed to be totally happy and healthy. And I'm like, no, it's not yoga. It's not yoga. You bring yourself into the water every time you go out. And I think part of my job now, not even when I give lessons, is to sit quietly for a little while and do the gymnastics of, when I teach surfing mentally, I'm here to guide someone to have an experience that really appreciates what's happening, to let go of what they're thinking about or whatever, and to focus on what they're trying to do in the water, given the situation that they're given. Not to get upset with other people, not to get upset with themselves, but to find a way to dance with nature that is, safe. I don't want my clients to get hurt, and it gives them that joy, the exhilaration. And I would say 99.9% of the time I am successful. That is a successful thing for beginning surfers. I love watching people learn how to surf. I love innocence in the ocean, and I just love it. But you can watch pro surfing and see guys just, competing in the water, and things aren't going their way. And you can just see them lose their shit, just they're so angry and so upset. And that can happen with an amateur surfer too. They can be out in the water and they expect something to be happening and they're disappointed. So I guess every lesson you could have in life, you can have out in the water too. Same as driving or working or relationships or anything. It's not, surfing doesn't, just because you're in the water, you're not immune to human frailty, weakness, and character defects. You've still got to be in the right mind frame to appreciate what's really happening. But the physical pleasure of riding a wave is unparalleled to me for any other activity.
Yeah, that is, like going back to something you said there, like about fighting in the water and stuff like that. And I know it does happen in the UK, but I don't think it happens anywhere as near as much as it has happened in places like America, places like Hawaii and stuff like that, where people are more territorial. There's a few breaks in the UK which are known as secret spots. And if you go to one of them, you're likely to not be very welcome at all if they don't know who you are. But as fighting in the water goes, I think it's people in the UK are too polite.
I'm so happy to hear that.
We say sorry a lot, don't we?
Someone will go, "Oh, you fucking idiot! What are you doing?" "Oh, sorry, sir."
Yeah.
It's that sort of thing.
That's nice. I mean, I wish people were more civil, but in Los I mean, it's so crowded here, right? And then in Hawaii, it's got their own reasons why it's a very macho culture and it's limited, natural resources, and people tend to come from somewhere else and try to take the limited natural resources of this community, where sometimes that's all these people have, and and fighting is encouraged. It's a culture where fighting is encouraged. And California's got, just overpopulation. So sometimes you go to these beaches and you're like, that's not even fun for me. I hate crowds. I am a crowd dodger, and I just, I'll do, I've surfed all my life. So I'll try to find the place, the time, and the day where, I can have fun and it's not crowded. I just want to have fun now when I go surfing. I surf for fun. When I'm not teaching, when I'm just surfing for my pleasure, I will not go to a crowded surf place and compete and get frustrated. I'll just go find a place where I can enjoy myself, without having to compete or get upset or frustrated or angry. And you can do that. It's 2021. You can still find empty waves with your friends, and that blows my mind.
Yeah, that's one of the things, isn't it? I mean, we love that thing of just going with your friends and finding you get to a spot and there is, it's an empty wave or something.
Oh,
we had one.
It's like you're a kid. You feel like you're 15 years old.
Yeah, we had one last year and it was absolutely brilliant. And then a couple of years ago, I came out to LA a couple of years ago, and I found it fantastic. But at the same time, I was thinking, I don't know how anyone gets anything done here, because it's that so chilled and relaxed vibe. We stayed in near Culver City, a little bit back from Venice Beach, and then we were sort of Venice Beach, Santa Monica area, and I just found the place amazing. I said I'd go back in a heartbeat, not knowing that you did surf lessons, because I would have been knocking at your door.
Yeah, I don't know how doing these interviews, I want everybody. I don't want to work too much, but I want everyone in the world to know that they can take a surf lesson with me if they want to take a surf lesson with me. But I don't want to pay for advertising or anything, and that's why we're doing this show. No, I'm just kidding. I wish you would have known too, because I do get some pretty interesting clients, and I love to meet the people from around the world that, and that's one of the greatest parts about teaching surfing. You get to meet some really interesting people and have fun with them, in an environment where they're, hopefully not too stressed, and it's beautiful and it's fun and everybody has a good time. It's a great thing. Where do you guys surf in the UK?
So our local, we're about an hour and a half from a surf break. We live on the coast, but it's not surfable beach. So what we would call our local spot is a place called Saunton Sands. So if you ever have any plans of coming over to the UK, then you're more than welcome to join us in the lineup on Saunton Sands.
Oh, I'd love to. I definitely will. Definitely call you guys when I come there. Yeah.
Have you got any plans for the future?
I have no plans for the future. It's kind of weird. I was going to go. I mean, my plans are pretty much 1 year at a time. This last year, I was going to go to Indonesia to go back to G-Land Surf Camp, and it got canceled because of the COVID. So the ticket is, I guess, being held by Singapore Airlines. And I was this summer in Los Angeles, I was able to work a lot. So I was teaching surfing a lot, and I did one little part in a horror movie, which is fun. That's why I live in Los Angeles. I can get a little part in a little independent film, and then I can give some surf lessons. And I love Los Angeles, and I've got my friends in my life are here. But I really want to go back to Indonesia. I want to do that every year for the next 10 years. I want to go back to Bobby's Surf Camp in G-Land and surf G-Land again. I've got so many friends that I only see there, and we've been doing it for a long time. And so I'm really looking forward to that. That is what my plan is. My plan is to go there as soon as I get vaccinated, as soon as they let people back in, and spend a month or 2 or 3 in G-Land camp, and then come back here, teach surfing in the summer, at the end of the summer, which is always fun, for like 2 months while it's warm and beautiful. September's a great month to surf here. And then I don't know what I'll do after that. We'll see what happens.
Well, we really hope you make it over to Indonesia this year in
Thank you.
2021. So we are absolutely, totally blown away and stoked that you come on our show. So we really, really appreciate your time, John.
Oh, thank you, guys. I'm looking. It's been an hour and 4 minutes. Gee, I hope your editing will be fun. But
yeah, it's right. Pete does that. It's fine.
All right, Pete. Yeah, it's really pleasant. I have a feeling I just babbled my brains out, but you guys are so cool and so nice, and I love your show, so I'm a fan of the shows, and so thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. It's and just before we go, do you want to tell anyone where they can find you online if they want to look you up and
sure.
The real
Yeah, I have a website. It's called prosurfinstruction.com, prosurfinstruction, and you can contact me through that, or you can just Google John Philbin, and I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. For anything, if you want to take a surf lesson or put me in a movie or something, I'm available, and I love it. So thank you.
Amazing. Woohoo! Thanks for that, John. Oh my God, what a legend. That was so much fun.
That was brilliant. He was so good as well. He just I kind of thought before we went into it, like he might have been a bit, come on guys, this film was like, so long ago, but I think it's turned into such a cult classic, and he still gets so much love from it.
Yeah.
That I think it's one of those, you hear like pop stars with songs, and they have a really popular song, and then they think, they grow sick of it for a while, and then they grow to love it again. And I think, like he said, they didn't like it afterwards, and people would take the piss out of them for it and stuff like that. But it's gone a complete circle, and it's just a cult classic, isn't it? That film, and so many people love it.
Yeah, I mean, to be part of a film that turns into a cult classic, you've got to be happy with that, haven't you? And he just sounds like he genuinely loves what he's doing, and he sounds like his life now is just lovely, chilled and relaxed. Exactly how you would think Turtle to be like now is exactly what John's like now. Just chilled, does his surfing. He was saying he rides his motorbikes and stuff when we were chatting to him off air. And I could not have been happier to speak to him. He's like we said at the start and throughout the whole thing, he's made such an impact on us. So what a great thing that we've managed to speak to like an icon of ours. Yeah. So I'm over the moon.
Should we just finish the podcast now then? That's it, last episode.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, no more, that's it. But this is part of the fantastic February series that we're doing. So it's a podcast a week through February. And what a great way to have him on the show as part of that. So
I'm really surprised that you didn't actually call him Turtle. I thought you were going to at one point.
Well, he actually gave us his phone number as well. So we got his phone number to kind of chat to him, and I had to save his phone number in my phone as Turtle. I just had to do it, and every time I look at it, it makes me happy.
And yeah, this is the part where I have to put out the apology to him, because you're going to continually stalk him for the rest of your life every week.
Yeah. So, hey Turtle, how's it going? What I really want, right, is if John ever comes over to the UK, or we're lucky enough to go over to LA, I want to be stood on the beach, and I want him to say the lines, "When the wave breaks here, don't be here, or you're going to get drilled." Then I can die. Then that's fine.
Oh dear. I mean, there's so much other stuff that's like he's been in, like other films and things like that we didn't even, we didn't even get a chance to speak about. But
yeah, well, he's been in Tombstone, and like the caliber of the actors in that film, that was a major Western in like 1993, I think it was. So he's like a really like kind of a high flying actor in Hollywood. To even be cast in a film like that is just incredible. And yeah, like I said, we didn't touch on it, but that's because it's the surf show, and we love him for Turtle and Point Break, and that we just could not get off that. But I think he knew he was coming onto a surf podcast. So
yeah, it was absolutely brilliant, and like recording the intro and outro after the actual interview, and my cheeks are hurting where I've been smiling so much all the way through, I think.
Yeah, I think he was. Didn't he say on that? I'm sorry, guys. Am I babbling? Am I talking too much? And I'm just like sat there like a little kid having bedtime story read to him. I'm like totally happy, just in total awe of Turtle. And what a great evening! It's just a shame that we've had to do it all remotely. So Pete's at his house, I'm at my house, and obviously John's in LA. So the technical side of it is a bit more difficult, but it just did not take away from the absolute pleasure of having him on.
Yeah, fantastic. So that's it for this week. Don't forget, head over to North Core, use the code SSUK15, and that will get you 15% off anything you purchase from North Core.
Also, if you've seen on Instagram, through this lockdown, I've been practicing pop-up using the Pop-Up Surf Pro. The guys at Pop-Up Surf Pro have been kind enough to offer our listeners 10% off if you wanted to purchase one. And if you go over to their website, which is popupsurfpro.com, and enter the discount code, the UK Surf Show, you'll receive 10% off a Pop-Up Surf Pro.
Yeah, how have you been finding it?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't obviously been in the water yet, so I can't tell if it's made a difference, in the real world yet. But I feel like it's helped my pop-up on it now. Like it's difficult to gauge if you're popping up correctly when you're just doing it on the floor, because you don't know if your feet are in the right place because nothing's board shaped. And even if you were doing it on your board by taking the fins off, it's stable, where this thing is unstable. So you need to land in the right place and get your foot placement correct straight away. Otherwise you'll just fall off of it. So there's two settings as well. There's a more advanced setting, which is more of an arch on the bottom of the board, which you can switch over. I haven't made it to that level yet. But yeah, I feel like it's helping. I know we are longboarders, so our pop-up is slightly different anyway to what would be a shortboarder, which this thing is focusing on, but it can only help. Like, how can it not help? If you can pop up on a shortboard, then popping up a longboard is going to be a lot easier. So that's my thinking behind it.
Yeah, so that's it for today's show. Hope you enjoyed it. We did.
Whoa, did we just?
Yeah, and don't forget to give us a like and subscribe on all the usual platforms. Anything you can, leave a review on iTunes, subscribe on YouTube. And thanks a lot. We'll see you next time. Cheers.
Cheers. Bye.